because their contractors, their lawyers, their attorneys do not know the pathway of sustainability and how to do it. They're not experienced in it. They don't have the professional knowledge of it. And it takes a while to get into knowing vetting out who really performs and how to recommend those performers, and then how to get paid for recommending those people that you feel good about working with. But I think there's a great future. I did want to say that Houston experienced the Hurricane Beryl this last few days, with still over 1 million people without power after two nights of no power, and still maybe 3 or 4 more days for many, in 100+ heat. So a very difficult situation for a large metropolitan area like Houston to be experiencing.
Yeah.
What happens is a lot of times you start making insurance claims, you start making, you have things that need to be repaired, and all of a sudden it's a good time to look at what do I have and how can I improve it so it's better performing. And how do I get my insurance renewed? The insurance companies are really taking a close scrutiny. The lenders are taking a close scrutiny, and the whole situation about a better performing property is being scrutinized like it's never been before.
Yeah.
So being a leader, being a person who has that knowledge, who can guide their clients and customers and referrals and community, because really it's not, it takes a village, and if you want to make an impact, you got to get out beyond your little scope and try and volunteer in organizations that that are can be affected, and let yourself be known as a leader. That's a big job in itself, and it doesn't pay real quick, but I think it will give you long-term security if you invest in it.
And that's what Izumi's been doing up there. It'd be fun right now if this whole group could come down to Houston and start talking about sustainability, because it's, things are spawned from disasters like this, right? Good ideas, good implementation. People are a little bit more open-minded to these type of things during things like that. Like California, you're overdue for a hurricane out there, right?
Sure.
Earthquake. Not a hurricane.
We had hurricane last year too.
I saw that.
As you may have noticed that the NAR's most recent report has added an R to ESG. So now it's an ESG plus R. The R stands in
resilience.
Resilience, report. Yeah, so resilience is definitely part of the whole picture.
I would say to be more, ESG's had a lot of resistance, but it's very hard to be resistant against resilience.
Yeah.
So it's kind of taking the form of, resilience first.
Yeah. I think it's probably, if you don't see that today, like, between Beryl hitting Houston and all these heat waves everywhere, I think it's, somebody has to be almost like delusional not to see the criticalness of this, current situation. Yeah.
So, I think about marketing, because I think ultimately this whole thing comes down to part of that. We have a tool, like luxury has luxury, right? They have that. Farm and ranch, they have that. We have green, and it's a really, really deep, wide hole, right? And I think for someone like you, 5 years with a podcast, are you taking a step back from the twice a month, like just because it's been a long time and you're not seeing the traction, or is it just maybe you're re-strategizing what that media outlet is for you? Because to me, it seems like with 5 years already under your belt, wow, you could turbocharge that thing these days, right?
Yeah. I think it's more of a latter re-strategizing. And I really do enjoy doing my podcast, because I do get to talk to people that otherwise I may not have a chance to. And just because, I can say to somebody like, I would love for you to be on my podcast, and that gives me the license to connect. And I also have another piece is that like a conference like Green Build, they will give me free pass because I have podcast.
How about that? Have you? I started a podcast about 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't succeed with it. I had to quit.
Yeah.
But the purpose of it was to create enough series so that I could create a highlighted book of experts on the field of
Yeah.
energy efficiency in buildings and experts, and
Yeah.
podcasts with different people,
Yeah.
combine that into a book and then publish,
Yeah.
like I'm a published author and I've got
Yeah.
books to give away,
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, for the most part, we're not going to, likely to, be a J.K. Rowling author or anything like that.
Mhm.
But it certainly impacts your credibility when you're
Yeah. Yeah.
add another
And
thing of who am I? Why should you listen to me? Well,
right.
doing this for 5 years and having great guests. Seems
Yeah.
to me you could reharvest some of that into other publications and stuff.
Yeah. I agree. And I think hopefully or optimistically speaking, I think this space is actually definitely gaining some momentum, especially in the event of these severe weather incidents. And I think it is becoming more and more obvious that people should follow this kind of conversation. So it's becoming a little more easier to have guests.
I
Over.
mentioned the insurance just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, insurance.
But that's the sucker punch nobody's expecting. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
we're up 30% in our insurance prices,
Yeah.
which is impacting our, basically cash flow and
Mhm.
what we can service in our debt and all
Mhm.
that. So we got
Mhm.
higher cost debt, we got higher costs of insurance operations, pressure on occupancy, especially in some areas like office buildings,
Mhm.
and these are crisis situations
Yeah.
pretty much. And
Yeah.
they take capital, they take, it's affecting, it's having a big impact on the real estate industry. We may
Yeah.
not really realize it, but 2 or 3 more of these hits and multi-billion dollar hits on FEMA and the insurance companies this year, they're going to say, how are we going to do this again?
Right.
And then now, well, let's reassess our actuarial studies and what are our costs going to be? We got to
Yeah.
adjust them higher. So now that burden, who do you think it falls on?
Right.
Property
I
owner,
think as a
the
green
occupant.
realtor, so to speak, that kind of as like what you're saying with the insurances too, like we have to be knowledgeable enough to be able to share that information with our clients. And insurance, and currently the Inflation Reduction Act is a big topic in this space, right? And the tax credit is fairly simple to understand, but the rebate part is like really complex, and it's not even rolled out yet. And the only state that's rolled out is New York, I understand. And so it's all these things, we have to be the one to be able to disseminate those information. And that's what I'm trying to do in terms of marketing, in that just letting people know that these resources are available. And these are the things that you can do to ease your energy bill and water bill and whatnot. um but yeah, it's like I hate to admit, like what Angelina was saying is like, how do we translate that to actually bringing food on our table while we are doing this work? Yeah.
One of the things that comes to my mind is, so you mentioned with your water heater, this person, right, that
Mhm.
have a hard time putting in the right type of sustainable system or whatever.
Mhm.
One of the things that I've done it twice, and because I keep reading books about becoming a better storyteller. And
Mhm.
I think the green space has a lot of opportunity for individuals like you and podcast and what I'm doing to really just kind of one bite at a time tell a story So for example, I'm a YouTuber. I've got a growing YouTube channel. It's the best lead gen for my business. It's incredible. But I did two uh, YouTube videos. One was about, I built a pool 2.5 years ago, and I took from the day I signed the contract and the dig and everything and the inspectors and the whole thing to the day that I jumped in the pool with my daughter, and I did a
Wow.
video. It took 7 months to do that, but I have generated 16 leads for the pool contractor who has paid me referrals because I sent them direct business.
Yeah.
And it was just one video. Then I did another one about my backyard. I did some really cool native plants and some different things. And I did that video, and it got a ton of videos, a ton of views. It's also driven a lot of attraction to all of my platforms. So my thought with that is, maybe that's an idea that all of us, you, Izumi, with your frustration, your challenges of getting this guy, and how you need to become a better resource and connect the dots and get your Rolodex a little bit thicker with people that kind of talk about that, maybe from a storytelling piece, because that could really be great content for all of your branding
Yeah.
and your podcast, and continue to show people the struggles we're going through.
Yeah.
We know we need this, but this is the struggles we're going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And storytelling.
Yeah. Interestingly, one of my previous career was a documentary making.
Oh man.
And I made stories for 2 decades, small stories for 2 decades. So that's actually what I love. I have done a few pieces on certain properties that I represented, or not, about some people who created their home to be, amazing, whether it's a biophilia or, the fire resiliency and something like that. So I do agree, storytelling is probably the most effective and important. I just, it's, like I said, there's a lot to do. So it's hard to manage all the things that I think I should be doing, and then while you are still managing the regular transaction where you have your clients that you need to serve. And so the balance, I think, is really the challenge.
Well, it's, and I think it's the opportunity, right? Because as
Yeah,
the one
exactly.
thing, yeah, kind of like you, when you got your green, and same with me, my first year of having green, I was scratching my head going, God, what do I do with this? Because there's
Yeah.
no green homes here, and I don't have a green home.
Yeah.
But how am I going to talk the talk if I'm not walking the walk?
Right.
I had other ways to get into the conversation that was more just my lifestyle and my thinking, how I want to do that stuff. I'm putting solar roof on next year. That's going to be a video. I'm going to do a massive presentation, storytelling about that. I'm finishing up my houses with new impact. We have to have hurricane windows here in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And they're not cheap, man. It's going to cost me $28,000 to put
Did
new.
you get PACE financing for that?
I need to talk to you about that. I don't know.
You
I
can.
need to get a lot of help.
They have that in Florida. They don't have it everywhere, but they have it in Florida.
Well, my wife is saying, we got to find government help for all this stuff. I'm like, it's out there. It's out there. So anyway, these are all great little snippets, to storytell about. Because I think it's kind of like the Icon 3D
That's great.
home. I invested those guys 2 years ago when they didn't have a voice, they didn't have a platform, they didn't have a YouTube channel, they had nothing. Now they have hundreds of thousands of people watching them build these homes, and they just announced that they are going to be able to do what they say, 15-story printed homes.
Wow.
15 stories, not just a single story. So their story just continues to evolve in the sustainable space by using alternative materials, right? More efficient homes. And anyway, it's just one little story at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And so one other things that I've done in the last few years is that when I realized that there's not enough green products to sell, I figured, okay, the people who are churning out properties on the market are investors, right? So I started networking with the real estate investment groups, like meetups and stuff. And in the beginning, it was so intimidating. It was mostly men, and they're just chasing money. You know, they're just finding ways to make more profit, right? And then I ended up finding a women's real estate investment group. And I thought, okay, they should be more, receptive of the idea. But still, it took me a few years. And I invested a small amount of money with some of the ladies who were doing flipping. And I kept saying, when you flip, can you just go green? And there was this one woman who kept saying, "Yeah, I'm interested, but I just don't know how." And then, she already had all the process in place, all it was streamlined process, right? And then, so last time she came to me, she said, "I'm doing another flip. Would you be interested in investing?" And I said, "I will only invest if you go green." And I said to her, I'll show you what to do, and I'll show you how to sell it." And so we did that, and she actually ended up making $500,000 profit
What?
from it,
Like going,
Um, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if that by going green itself warranted the $500,000 profit. But so she decarbonized, she electrified, and then she put heat pump, and then she had all the Energy Star doors and windows, and she put extra insulations. And I was giving her all the little things that should be done, and then I Pearl certified. um, I did the blower door test and certified with Pearl Gold.
yeah.
And then when we put it on the market, we put it above the comp. And the first two buyers who came in offered at the comp price, which was 200,000 less. This is LA market, by the way. So the listing price was 2.447, no, 2.49, and the comp showed 2.2. And then so the first two buyers said that this is the comp, this is what we think it's worth. And when we came back saying we had all the Pearl certification, by the way, gives you all the marketing material, the data to back up the claim that this is a high performing home. So we presented all that stuff. I mean, we had it all displayed at the property, but the first two buyers said, we don't care. Explicitly, we don't care that this is a high performing home. And so we said goodbye. We said, go away. No, you don't deserve to buy this home. And then, we ended up getting two more offers at the higher price. And the flipper made $500,000, right? So I thought that was going to give me a ticket to do more of those. But then it's for those who are flipping, who already have a process in place that like they have the vendors who suppliers for the appliances and blah blah blah, and the flooring materials, whatever they have already in place. So it's hard for them to shift that. And unless I could get involved from the beginning and say, yeah, these are the things that you should do, and just have all those things ready to go before you start ordering or before you start actual construction, they'll just fall back into the process that they're used to. So it comes down to the educating and informing, and so that's been my marketing, basically.
That is such a great story. I wish we had started out this conversation today about that. That's just like, wow. I mean, imagine putting together like the ultimate way to flip a home green style or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And build on that and use that as content. That to me is gold. That's really important stuff to share with the world.
Yeah.
Really important.
Some of the key elements of that is how much are those improvements that you are recommending saving in operating costs?
Right.
Or improving efficiencies,
Exactly.
lower utility cost,
Exactly.
lower utility costs, lower insurance costs, better finance terms, all these
Mm-hmm.
things that qualify
Mm-hmm.
for measurably.
Yeah.
That make it much more easy to sell and much more lower risk for
Yeah.
someone buying it to have to deal with more regulation and risk, down the road.
Exactly. Pearl certification connected me with the mortgage broker that has a program. It's not a product. It's kind of a program called Total Cost of Ownership Flex, TCO Flex. So what they do is they look at the operation cost of the home, including, not just the mortgage payment and the insurance payment and blah, blah, but it also looks at the cost of operating that particular property. So they would look, if you are buying energy efficient homes, your energy cost is lower. So they would consider that into their underwriting process, and they would reward you if you're buying already energy efficient home. They would reward you. It in some cases close to 1 point lower rate than the actual marketing ongoing rate. And then if the purchasing a home that is not energy efficient or halfway energy efficient, and if you are planning to put on some improvement, energy efficiency movement, or putting a solar panel or whatever, they would consider that in the underwriting process and give you lower rate. And so having that kind of conversation with the buyers is really helpful. When they walk in and they go looking at the property and prices and they're, oh, this is too expensive, whatever. But if you can talk about the cost of running that particular place, is very helpful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That, I know our time is running short here, but I mean, boy, my marketing hat just comes on and I sit there and go, wow. I mean, I need to send that to my database in my weekly e-letter and just say, hey, were you aware? And then a little story about how that works, maybe some of the intricacies of it, the points. And, people love to read that. And if they don't, whatever. But that type of stuff is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, this is a business of tenacity. It's, if you're in the business of real estate for decades, then not every decade's great, and you have different challenges at different times, but you have to adapt. You have to figure out what's important. You have to stand up a little bit ahead of your competition and be knowledgeable, be able to be a leader that they can count on, people that can refer you because, hey, you did a great job for me, and that is, that's how you set yourself apart. And there's never been what's amazing to me, truly amazing to me, is that so USGBC celebrated its 30th year anniversary this year, United States Green Building Council. It's a pretty long stretch of, and it's been a climb, really. But so tenacity is part of it. But some of the problems that we're figuring out how to solve and putting together solutions that are out there that are in siloed but not really communicating together, being able to recognize those collaborative opportunities to come together with multiple solutions, and be able to be a resource to your clients so that you're not a commodity, you're a trusted advisor and a resource. That's the business we're in, that's the business we build, and it's a never-ending improvement story. Now, you're never there. You were there last year, but things have changed. Competition's different. New things are on the market, and you can't live on yesterday. You never can. You can sometimes eat on yesterday for a while, but you can't build a future on it. You got to be at the striking point. And as you've done a great job, and I admire your tenacity.
Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely. Well, I will second that. I know we had a couple of people leave, but that was really a great call, Izumi. It's very inspiring for all the things that you have done and that you're going to continue doing. And boy, that story you're building a great story. From my perspective, there's anything I can do to help you with that marketing side, or anything with ideas that can get you, because we all need to be reinvigorated, right? Every single day on how to battle, fight this battle. And you have my ear. If I can ever lend a hand for you, please reach out to me. And, yeah,
Be careful. I would take up on that.
that's great. Not a problem. Love to do it. Love to do it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, if anyone else had any questions, thank you very much for your time, Izumi. That was a great
Thank
phone call
you.
today. Yeah.
Sorry, I
appreciate
had to show up late. This hurricane, I've had a bunch of family members staying in my house, and
Oh, wow.
dogs everywhere, and just a
Oh,
little
man.
disruptive. But at least I have power. A lot of
Thank you,
people
Nelson.
don't. No, but I'm glad I could come.
Stay
And
safe.
it's on my list. It's on my list to reach out to you, Nelson.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I welcome you.
I'm looking forward to connecting.
Cool.
Thank
Right.
you so much,
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
You too.
Katie.
Thanks for your time.
Congratulations on your closing. Bye.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Katie, but that's okay.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. See you later, Katie. Bye, Izumi.